As soon as we arrived in Georgia, the first thing we heard at night from a taxi driver was that Russia is trying to break in and unclench Georgia's fist. I think it won't be the last time we'll hear this. Protests are continuing outside the parliament building. Georgians are protesting against Russia's interference in the Georgian government, and Russia is dictating its laws on Georgian land.
It all started with the so-called Gavrilov Night on June 20th. Russian Communist MP Sergei Gavrilov came to Georgia for the Interparliamentary Assembly on Orthodoxy and sat in a chair which was reserved for the head of the Georgian parliament.
It's not about the chair, it's about symbols. Every state has its symbols, the flag, the parliament building, and so on. An occupier brings in a Russian flag, sits down, takes what is basically a governing position. It's like watching someone spit in your soul.
Far from being the only reason for the protests, the Gavrilov incident was the final straw in what protesters call a quiet Russian occupation.
It wasn't an isolated act. Gradually, Georgia began changing its orientation. As far as official statements are concerned, they say, yes, we want to be in the European Union and so on, but what they are doing at the same time is something else entirely.
We spoke with the lawyer Beka Basilaya on the 12th day of his hunger strike. He says he's protesting against his country's rapprochement with Russia. He's not happy with the current Georgian foreign policy, which he believes is pro-Putin.
The key government positions are now occupied by people who study in Russia and who have businesses in Russia. They are direct KGB cadre, and they are already working for Russia.
According to Basilaya, the current policy has weakened Georgia's relations with its Western partners and frozen the Anaklia deep-sea port project. It's financed by the West, and Russia is against it. Ukrainian defense expert Volodymyr Kopchak, who lives in Georgia, believes that the country's dependence on the Kremlin is growing. However, he doesn't consider local authorities to be pro-Russian, but describes their actions as short-sighted tactics.
Tbilisi, in my opinion, paid very little attention, to say the least, to the matter of countering the hybrid threats or the soft power exerted by the Kremlin. Officially, they're welcoming tourists, but also Georgia cut diplomatic relations with Russia, set its course towards integration with NATO, European integration and so on. We all know the narrative, but simultaneously there was a total invasion in the business sphere, from mineral water to electricity. As a result, the Georgian political establishment didn't see this threat coming or saw no issue with this. And now the establishment, considered by some to be pro-Russian, although I don't share this opinion, has become a hostage to this policy. Their official stance is, we know nothing of this. Well, yes, there's something going on, but we're keeping out of trouble, trying not to interfere. But at the same time, we have a growth of, well, they call it economic development, but sensible people, all Georgian experts, call it a foreign influence of a country that occupies 20% of our territory and that, as we could see, could gladly come and switch something off here.
Georgian authorities describe their position as a balanced policy when it comes to Russia. Protesters argue the Kremlin was never known to maintain balanced relationships. They're trying to do whatever they can to counter the Kremlin. Learn how Georgian society is opposing Russia's quiet occupation in the next report in our series, 11 Years of Occupation. Reported by Lyubov Zadorozhna in Tbilisi for UATV.